Me, the party, and Atiku himself, we do not believe that elections will fix Nigeria's problems. And we do not believe electing an individual will fix Nigeria's problems. Electing Atiku, Tinubu, or B will not fix Nigeria's problem. If voting for an individual could fix Nigeria's problem, Nigeria's problems will have been overcome since 2015. And that is why we are not selling Atiku Abubakar as a person. We are selling the vision, the plans of Atiku Abubakar. And that's the goal we see. That's the vision. And that's the road that we are going. We don't care who is with us or not. We have to drive there. Whoever wants to join us will join us if he thinks that he's losing out. And when he sees us getting to the victory, everyone will fall in. Even from other political parties, you see people from APC, from Labour Party joining us because we are targeting our cause. We are targeting our destination. So we don't care about what people might think about our division. We have a focus, and that's where we are going.
So you're truly divided because you've been denying this all the while.
Because if you are closer to victory, that's what's going to happen. Because a lot of interest will come, and that's to show the strength and the power of the party. Have you ever seen this kind of rancor and issues in the smaller parties like Labour Party and NNPP? You didn't see this kind of issues because this is showing the strength, the spirit of the party. And this is a sign that we are closer to the victory. And this is the sign. And because this election is not about the interests of a faction or the party itself, it's about Nigerians. So we don't look at the problems inside, we look at the interests of the country. Most of these politicians, they're fighting for themselves. But we have a candidate that is fighting for the people. And that's why this election, Nigerians have to be very careful because within the next 5 months, they have to make a decision, a far-reaching decision that will determine the survival of we, the people, and the country.
You're saying that you're not selling a candidate, rather a blueprint or a vision. But then people would have to drive this vision. And your presidential candidate happened to be the team lead, if you like, one who would lead the process of implementation, and yet is unable to unite the political party.
As a leader, your job is to craft the vision and then bring the team that will implement the vision, and you to supervise the implementation of the vision. So you don't expect Atiku Abubakar himself, because no one person can fix Nigeria. It's a teamwork. And that's what makes Atiku Abubakar unique, because he doesn't need to know you before he works with you. Once you have what it takes, you prove to him that you have the capacity, he'll bring you on board. He's not a bygod. He's not someone that is ruled by sentiment or ethnicity. And this is a time when we are deeply divided as a country, and we cannot afford to be further divided in this election. And that's why some candidates are leveraging the division we have in the country. And that's why I warn Nigerians that never vote for anyone that's coming on the flag of religion or on the flag of ethnicity. These people are leveraging the division we have in the country and further dividing us. And that's why we have Atiku Abubakar as a unifier, someone that will unify all these interests, someone who is not doing it for himself, he's not doing it for his children. With regard to the petroleum sector, the APC has already stolen our idea. Atiku Abubakar believes in a private sector driven economy, and he has a clear steps on how to do that. When Labour Party says we are going to create jobs, but how? We are going to empower entrepreneurs. How? We are going to make refineries work. How? They are just good in talking about problems and just fantasy without.
But he's talking about creating enabling.
Okay, so Atiku Abubakar came out with a clear plan on how to privatize and bring private sector participation in the petroleum sector. We've seen how the Nigerian government is spending 16 trillion in just a decade paying for petroleum subsidy. That's not sustainable. NNPC has been consuming so much resources as is not remitting enough revenue. So it's better to dispose it, to privatize it, give it in the hands of people who are capable of managing it. Refineries are not producing anything. We are spending a lot of millions on them. So it's huge loss. So I think the best way we have all their refineries that are working, all their refineries than Nigerian refineries, but they are working. So the idea is Atiku Abubakar, fundamentally, he's different from all other candidates because he has specific plan. I know that you guys, you're rushing us in this, but he has clear manifesto on the steps for the way.
But
for the issue of power sector,
what are you bringing differently?
Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, you talk about power sector. Power sector reform, the privatization of the power sector.
Which the APC said was only procured darkness.
Nobody can give you that evidence of $16 billion that you talk about. There is no any evidence. Just as here, just a newspaper caption. But what I'm talking about, the improvement you are seeing in the power sector, the IPPs that you're seeing, the GENCOs that you're seeing, the distribution company that we are still talking about how to make them better, was initiated. It's a power sector reform that if it were implemented better, the way Atiku Abubakar has envisioned it, it wouldn't have been this. So now APC administration is also thinking of privatizing the transmission lines, which of course Atiku Abubakar will also want to do that. The idea is the government should be a supervisory, should be doing the supervisory role over the economy, but private sector should be empowered to manage almost every sector of the economy.
But even this point you are making, you know, the ruling APC is also accusing your principle of, you know, copying, you know, if you like, literally what it is implementing in the area of, you know, involving private sector in oil refining and what have you. You are talking about, he's talking about perhaps bringing in private sector, but the present administration is already working with operators of modular refineries. He was
almost crucified.
The Dangote refinery, for instance, which is also a private sector driven investment.
Yeah, what I'm saying, but initiated by the government. So Dangote is an individual person that makes his decision to invest in the refinery. But the government, from inside the government setting, now to bring private sector, that's what I'm talking about. The main point I'm talking about is for you to even build the economy, there has to be a country first. But what makes Atiku Abubakar different from all these vague manifestos is that he understood that. Me and him, we had argument. And it was later on that I get to understand him. He said, Ahmed, we have to unite this country first. Without unity, there is no economy. Without unity, there is no security. Without unity, there is nothing.
So what are you saying?
The fundamental thing we need to do in this country is to unite this country.
But you can only talk about unity when there is division. Are you saying that the country is divided?
Yes.
Along what lines now?
Exactly, and that's what this election represents. This election has manifested the deep division we have in this country. You see people aligning to candidate not based on vision, but based on sentiment. And the worst tragedy that can happen to us at this moment is to be guided by sentiment in the 2023 voting, because we've seen where sentiment has brought us over these years. So we have to vote for the unifier that will unify all these sentiments together. Well, yeah, first people need to understand the messengers before they could understand the message better. When you hear anything coming from the APC or Labour Party, you have to understand their motive.
What's the motive?
All governed by sentiment. If you look at APC, for example, I was embarrassed when Mr. Blama is talking about the current administration, current president, because for me, the worst president Nigeria has produced in recent years is President Buhari.
Why?
And that's the best president APC could ever produce.
Why did you say so? When there are a number of people,
more people have been killed under his administration more than any other administration. Now you cannot travel Abuja, Kaduna safely. I cannot travel to my home state, Katsina. People are being killed. I'm coming
even
just
the
a moment.
Figures even the impression you are given. Can you substantiate it with figures? Because we all know that there was also security issues.
When we handed over to them, inflation was 9%. Now, do you know how much is inflation now?
It's a global phenomenon.
Who caused it? Inflation, unemployment.
Let me take on that. Yes, you're talking about inflation at 9%.
I didn't say a word when you were
and then today it is at 20%. But you also know that there are drivers. There is reason for the inflation. It's largely food induced, you know. It's a food inflation, and that's the reason why it is rising. And we all know perhaps the reason why
for anything bad. You as a leader, it's not your role to give people excuse. You have to fix it.
Okay, how can we fix it? How can we fix it? For instance, looking at the present realities.
They could not fix it. So you want us to look into our manifesto, which is where I'm going. going to the Labour Party, I can go ahead and cram so many figures, statistics. If I know I'm an orator, I can talk to people and they cheer me and clap for me. I want to vote for you. That's right. But for me, these two parties, I look at them as one. So PDP is different because these people are governed by sentiment.
How is PDP different?
I'm coming. That's where I'm going. If you have a party like Labour Party running on religion or ethnicity, somebody is saying it's our turn, you know that this country we're in trouble. That is why I always love Atiku's message that say, I am the unifier. He wants to divide us. They want to divide us. I want to unite us. And that's why Atiku came out with five.
No, I don't want us to derail from the issue.
Now coming to the question, I'm going to talk to you about 5-point agenda that will address all these issues.
Let's address this issue of private sector.
Yeah, private sector. Now, let me tell you, telecommunication industry,
which was
for example, telecommunication. Now, all of them, they have either MTN, Glo, or whatever. Who did that? Atiku Abubakar was the one that introduced debit card. If you want to get money for yourself, you have to go to the bank counter to get the money. Atiku Abubakar was the one who introduced debit card and credit card that we are using. He was the one that introduced GSM that we are using. He was the one that transformed the generation sector of the power sector. And he was the one who drafted the agenda of the economy. And that is why
he's on the floor.
Even as a vice president, and now with this huge experience, somebody who has managed huge and international businesses, someone who can manage human resources and financial resources, there is no better candidate to lead this country at this moment as that kind.
But how would we explain this? Because we have to look at the current trajectory. We have to look at the current trajectory. For instance, he's talking about what is coming out of the power sector privatization. Yeah. I ask this question because it has been a recurring concern about those that have, about the amount at which some of those assets were sold, and about who was actually sold to.
Okay, let me tell you. Now, let's take an example of refinery. Do you know that it's more expensive to refine 1 barrel of crude oil in Kaduna than to import it from America? Which kind of buyer? Listen, let me tell you. Which kind of buyer will buy that kind of refinery at that kind of state? So if I'm buying this refinery, you have to discount it to me because I have to pay for fixing it so that I can pay back what I invested in that. So you cannot just say, okay, this refinery could not refinery if it is a brand new refinery, it will be 100 billion.
But the question is,
and now you are selling it at current
selling assets belonging to Nigerians to people who have no capacity to drive it.
See, Atiku Abubakar did not sell a refinery.
And we're not talking about refinery. We're talking about the power sector privatization.
The power sector privatization, let me tell you, initially when power sector was privatized, our generation capacity was not up to 3,000. But now we have more than 15,000 generation capacity.
What about distribution?
I'm taking the distribution sector. We're supposed to have capable hands that are supposed to. I also fault that because it was not sold, but it wasn't Atiku himself that sold to this individual. But Atiku Abubakar has a vision that says we have to also privatize the mid segment of the transmission line, which is the transmission line, and which is the mistake. The implementation, the government that came after that could not do. If Atiku Abubakar was to continue after that, he will have privatized the transmission line. So you did nothing when you privatized the generation, but you cannot evacuate. Now we have huge generation capacity.
So you agree there were lapses in the transaction and of course getting the right people.
Mind you, and it's something that Atiku Abubakar is coming to do to make it better. Ready to win the election, and we don't have time to spend because we have 5 months to the election, and every minute counts. The clock is ticking, so we don't have to wait for anybody. And it shows our readiness, our commitment. Despite our challenges, we still want to move ahead. And this is the party that is ready to lead this country. If we cannot manage to integrate our campaign council, then we are not ready to fix Nigeria's problems. At this very serious and troubling time and trying time in Nigeria, we need a decisive party, a decisive leader. Despite challenges, you have to make a decision and you have to stick to it. And that's what PDP stands for. And from here you can see there's the difference. APC could not integrate their campaign council. Labour Party cannot do that. On the first day, we are the only ones that did it. We came first in everything. we are the ones to do it. In primary election, we are the ones to do it. Inauguration of our campaign council, we are the first. We will be the first to win the election too. So we win the presidential election. So it shows our readiness.